I spent 10 years in the sign painting business, right?
Oh.
Before I met Zeke. Before I even went to San Diego. But Zeke got into trouble down there. He got in a fight with some police in the bar, and I don't know what happened, but I guess one of them got a broken leg, so I guess he beat all the criminal charges, but he sued him, in a civil court, I guess. So he came up here for about 9 months, or well, my second partner was in jail there, so until he got out. So I learned so much from Zeke and from working in Hawaii. From looking at Sailor Jerry stuff, I took rubs of all his designs. I mean, it just like gives you giant leaps forward. Huh?
Yeah.
I never apprenticed to be tattooed.
Okay.
But like I said, we're working with Malone there, like on a steady basis. Or when the Navy came in, like it was just like non-stop action. You better not make a mistake. Hurry up and all that stuff. You're working for a tough commander there.
Sure.
But as you know, in the old days, when the Navy came in 3 days, you were broke. So if you didn't get their money, somebody else would, right?
Yeah.
So anyway. But anyway, what happened is Zeke came up in about 1964 for about 9 months, and then we're watching him work, like to do belly work and stuff like that. Like when you're just starting off again, like it's like really, wow, it's like life or death to you. Like, in your mind just got to be good, and you don't want to make a mistake, and all that stuff. He just had girls up there all wobbly and just like run the machine pretty quick there, and just like while he was standing him up, he would like lever pieces and stuff like that. Like down by the crotch and stuff like that, just without any bad lines or anything. It's just what makes you feel like breaking your fingers. Because to this day, Zeke is the best, technical tattooing guy alive that I know of. I'm telling you, the guy, I guess because he's done a trillion military kind of tattoos, but his scripts and lettering and all this like long line stuff is just beyond phenomenal. You just have to work with him for a while. It's just beyond belief. His technical ability, right?
Yeah.
But it's really interesting. But of course, you learn from a guy like him, right?
That's right.
Not to whine about stuff. And, there's a guy who's paid his dues. But yeah, so things sort of kept going, kept keeping on there. It was good.
And at what point did you make it up into Canada and set up shop here?
Well, I always lived in Canada. Like, my first partner here was a guy named Doug Hawthorne. You'll see. You refer back to this stuff I'm going to give you.
Yeah.
Like, that was here in Canada, in Vancouver. We opened the first shop in 1971. After he started getting tattooed down there, after I got a tattoo from those guys, right? Then we found out how to get a machine and stuff. Like, we didn't know a hell of a lot about tattoo. We just opened, right?
Yeah.
But 2 doors up, back part of his place, and it was like he just had a heart attack, and it wasn't expected back, right? So, we sort of took advantage of the fact that, like, there's an opening there, let's grab it. And
sure. Yeah.
And that was mostly my first partner was a real opportunist, a real good businessman. Like, and he's the guy with the head. He took quite a bit of hit from his persuasion before, like, I decided to even like consider tattooing as a living, because I was doing pretty good as a side painter up here. So that's about that.
Yeah.
But I mean, lots of trips down to San Diego, and then when Ed moved to Frisco and opened Realistic Tattooing, I was down to Frisco to get stuff done, right? So, but I mean, but after working in Hawaii for a little while there with Malone, and then when Zeke was up here, it was just like, wow, man. I learned pretty much the core of everything from those guys.
Yeah.
But I mean, until I went to Europe there, like, it was like watching guys like work with little tiny wind-up tattoo machines from Russia and Romania and stuff, and watch them wind down and wind them up real fast and keep going, and they're approaching something. There's when the Art Curtain was there was no information. You couldn't get tattoo books. They sort of invented how to tattoo themselves, and they did it in such ways that, like, I was like, wow, man, look at that. It was a brand new game after that, after working in Europe at Hankster for almost 5 years. Man, it just, through his tattoo conventions, you get exposure to so many different, like, radical new things that weren't even happening in North America yet. But, man, it makes it fun ever since then. Like, you learn so many new tricks you can't even, you got a toolbox full of tools, you can't even use them all now,
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many different ways to go. Watch guys set up like 10 machines with different liners, and you go and hack away at people like that on big stuff, or, the different ways to go, and like, trying to make a decision, like, if you want to be a specialist in this or that, or you want to get the whole shebang. So, it gets real interesting. But now there's specialists in realistic work and portraits and all that stuff. And before, the only guy around that was like that was Jack Rudy, right? The master
Yeah.
Workers way back then.
So when you opened up your shop, what did the old guys that were around still
Well, the
around?
Circus Lido was there. They didn't like it very much, and then ended up Course Curly and Ted Liberty. That's Captain Ted, but I never ever actually met the guy. You know, like Ryan Zuck would probably be able to help you better with that. But anyway, there was like lots of old stuff. There's an old guy called Speed Robinson, like, and I never met either. You know, I seen a couple of his tattoos. He did like 2 better years and years ago. But,
Yeah.
and there, you know, a few guys like that. And then of course Ed Hardy was working under Ed Talbot there. He worked in Vancouver for probably 6-8 months, maybe even a year. I don't know when he was learning how to tattoo.
Okay.
And it's nice to work in the same town with Dutchie
Yeah.
and Ed Hardy. But yeah, to see like, you know, the early attempts and stuff. Like, and now I see a guy come in with Doc Forbes, like when he did the Swallow so flawlessly. A guy come in like a couple of years ago, wanted me to cover up the thing. I wouldn't do it. I just couldn't believe how nice and technically nice. You know, just really nice. These things are good.
Well, you have a reputation for bringing an artistic flair to tattooing. You know, when I've talked to the guys.
Well, you know, like my little way, like in the old days, like, you know, like I used to whack a lot of stuff. Like being in a motorcycle club, they do a lot of stuff. Like, you don't take pictures of it because it's like, you know, nobody does it. You don't fucking drop names and stuff like that and put it in your photo books. That's just not done, right? But anyway, yeah, a lot of stuff. Like, you know, like a guy in a Harley with some wanton fucking hussy on the back with big tits and stuff like that, and the tail and horns, or, you know, stuff like that. There's lots of stuff like that out there in the world. I don't know if you've seen Paul's book there, like, but there's a couple of pictures, like, you know, like those old crazy motorcycle days. You just whack it out with it. You just pick up a toothpick and whack it on there. Because I mean, it seemed like the toothpick and the tattoo ink was the only thing that would stay on long enough, so you could actually follow it up.
Sure, yeah.
And then you scratch celery to somebody with the old fountain pens or the old Bic pens would scratch celery before they leave a mark on your, that kind of stuff.
Wait, do you know what year Ed Hardy worked up here under Ed Talbot?
Ed Talbot, yeah, Ed Talbot. He came back up here for a couple of weeks, about 3 weeks, after my partner got out of jail after Zeke left. I guess he went to Japan. He was working with Uguri after about a year, and then that didn't work out too well, so I lined up a bunch of work. I talked to him on the phone there from California. I lined up a bunch of guys, you know, I wanted to get work. So he came up here sort of to get himself back together again, or, you know, for a second breath or whatever. So like that picture of him tattooing my second partner there, Nick there, was pretty interesting. So watching him work, of course, you know, but again, like, you know, like at that point in time, I'm just getting a grip on the tattoo, and he's taking it like, you know, light years away there, basically.
Yeah.
But anyway, well, I was real lucky to be where I was, you know, in time. But then when I left here, like probably 87, 88, I hit the road, and I worked for about a year, 2 years almost in the States before I went to Amsterdam. Working in places like, you know, like I'm not supposed to be working, I'm working illegally, and so like you say A just once, and like, and then you're a Canadian, and then someone comes in, oh, is it Canuck here, A? So then I know I better move sooner, I'm going to get busted, and that kind of stuff, right? So it's kind of, I don't know, that kind of crap, and pisses you off, so it's time to hit another continent. But the Dutch people, man, I'll say when I got to Holland, it's just like, wow, fuck, there's so much, they're so nice and liberal, like the most people like Canadians I've ever been, right? Mm-hmm. It's just like, man, unless they think you're an American, you have to make sure you tell them you're Canadian first.
Yeah.
And then it's all different. But I'm just saying, it's just the way things are, I guess. But with all this laser, and like the advances in laser printing and photocopying and all that stuff, like it's just like the quality of stuff has brought stuff like, you know, right to your hand immediately. Not like the old days, like there wasn't an internet to look stuff up on and all that stuff. And no one shared any information with anybody else because, like, you know, the old thing that anyone in your town is your enemy for life, and any one of your associate tattoo artists in another city is an associate and friendly, but usually your city is your enemy, right? Yeah. So there you go. Yeah. That's how it goes.
When did the industry make the transition from people getting a little more friendly with other tattooers around them?
I don't know exactly. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
Is it really true? Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're from out of town, so you're visiting shops and stuff, so you get a friendly response. But if you told them you were setting a shop up on the street and you're still doing this, do you think they would open their arms to you? I don't think so, right?
Yeah.
So like you have to put that one in another kind of, think about that one first before you say that. The thing is, there's so many people, like in my case, like, if I go to a convention or something, people want to show you stuff, like I'm not there for people to, I'm not a, like an art critic, I can't criticize other people's work, I don't really want to see all this stuff, right? And like if you say something like, like to help people out, that maybe the thing needs a bit more work, then they get all mad at you anyway, you're just some old hack that knows nothing, and they just want to be patted on the back and on the head or whatever. But there's the other kind of people you run into. It takes a little while before you start really mingling, or everyone's sort of suspicious of everyone else, but
Yeah.
like a guy's general, way less things sort of changes your mind if you want to meet the guy or be friends with him. I'm sure you've had lots of guys that haven't treated you like no matter you think, you're not wearing you haven't identified yourself as a tattoo guy or anything, so they blow you off like you're self-important and stuff. So like I don't even want to meet people like that in my own business. Like if I see that side of them, then how's it going to do me any good like to meet the guy? Or it's just going to be a waste of time. I'm just going to make this and that anyway. Right?
Yeah.